So last session we learned few basic things related to TypeScript data types. So we discussed about what are the changes with the data types in TypeScript and JavaScript. The difference you understood there is the difference is data type declarations and all. We learned how to declare variables, numbers, string, and all those options. Next, after understanding TypeScript variables and TypeScript data types, we have TypeScript functions. Functions concept, everything same as you saw in JavaScript, but extra one concept. That means function concept is same, means function with parameters, without parameters, function with return, function closure, function expressions, function related generators, function related, all concepts are same. Only the difference here is actually here functions are same as in JavaScript, same as in JavaScript. So what is the point? Extra is data type, only same as in JavaScript. So TypeScript functions additionally defined with data type. Data type for parameters, and function type. Data type for parameter and function. TypeScript functions additionally defined with data type for parameter and function. That means generally in JavaScript, how do you write? So in general JavaScript, how we write a function is, in JavaScript we write a function and the function name, and we have some functionality, and if necessary we can add parameter. That's how we write the function. So in a TypeScript, how do we write a function is, in TypeScript we can have a function will have a name, it will have a parameter have data type, and function also have data type. Function is configured with the data type. So if a function is not returning any value, then it will be void. If function is returning any value like a number or a string, then we have to define the type. If function is not returning any value, we have to define as the data type, right? So whatever you learned in JavaScript, same functions, only extra this. What is extra is every function will have a parameter type and every function will have a return type. That's the additional thing you need to define. So that means I will show you here. So let's open this project here. In our project, I kept a separate this program.ts. Now here we are writing a simple function. Generally function, suppose we say hello is a function. This hello function is not having any parameter, but we define a return type as void. That's how you define. So you can configure this. That means it is not returning any value. It is just having some functionality. Suppose we have console.log. So we are defining hello TypeScript, something like this. And we have another function. Suppose we have a function and the function is addition. This function have two parameters A and B, and see it shows some error because every parameter must have written data type. This is number type and B is also number type. And what is the return type? Return type also we defined as what? Number. If return type is number, then you know that it should return A plus B. That's how we have to do. That is only the extra concept. So the data types, when you are configuring, you have to mention data type for parameter. And once the parameter data type is there, if you are writing a function to return some value, then you should mention return type. You have to configure the return type. So suppose you are writing function, some welcome. So here it is expecting a string str. It is what type? String type. And we are defining that, and we want to return the string. In that case, it's important to mention the return type. Return type as what type? String. So you can configure the functions in this way. What difference you will find in function of JavaScript and TypeScript is this. That means how to access, you know. How do we access? We are calling hello, that is the function first. We are calling addition. Into that we have to pass only number. And another we have welcome. Into that we have to pass only string. Suppose I said welcome to TypeScript, something like this. Now I will run this here roughly. So separate terminal I am showing so that you can easily see. Here I am defining tsc program.ts, and we have node program.js. So everything same. Here we are having hello TypeScript. And what about others? Others are not printing any result. What hello is doing? It is returning. These two are returning a number and string, which we have to print. That means addition is returning a number. We have to print it. That means console.log. We have to print addition is equal to whatever addition function returns, because it returns a number. And similarly, we have to use console.log, and whatever welcome function is going to return, because welcome function returns a string. Then you can see that we will compile and it is going to print those details. So it will print those details. Hello TypeScript, addition, welcome to TypeScript. All these concepts are same. So what you learned about functions in JavaScript, the same topic here. Only extra is about data type. How you configure the data type for function, and how to configure the data type for the parameters inside function. Here, so I will give this example first. This is example. And remember, here. So all function features are same. Like in JavaScript, you learned about closure. In JavaScript, you learned about recursion of functions. In JavaScript, you learned about arrow functions, right? In JavaScript, you learned about generators, function generator. In JavaScript, you learned about anonymous functions. All these concepts about functions are same. In JavaScript, you learned about REST parameters. In JavaScript, you learned about spread syntax. All these concepts are same as you learned in JavaScript. Only one point extra. What is that? Data types. And all other concepts are same. Only one thing you need to remember is whenever you write the function, make sure that the function is having a return type defined and the function parameters are having a data type. The rest of concepts are same. Now here some important rules you have to know. What are the rules is actually, so here function can have optional parameters. We already know how to write optional parameter. Last session I told you that any property can be optional. How a property can be optional? By using question mark, null reference character. So function can have optional parameters. Actually in function, every parameter is compulsory. If you want any parameter optional, you can define optional. But important is, so you cannot have a required parameter after optional parameter. That means always optional parameter must be last parameter. So you cannot have any required parameter after optional parameter. That's only one thing you have to remember. I will show one concept here. For example, see, we are creating a function. We are defining a function and function is details. This details function is expecting some parameter ID. It is a number type and expecting price. This is also a name. Name is a string type and price is again number type. And it is void and it will print those details. Console.log. We will print the details like ID is equal to whatever ID is present. In the next line, name is equal to whatever name is defined. Now, similarly, so the price is equal to whatever price is defined. We will print those details. Now, whenever I call details function, into the details, I am passing ID and I am passing name, but I am not passing price. Then it shows error because every parameter is compulsory. It says that price is missing. Price is not provided, but price is optional. If it is optional, I can put here a question mark. It is optional. But what it will print now? It will print undefined. Price is equal to undefined because you are not entering price. Then how do we handle? Generally, we write a logic. What is the logic? If price, that means if it is defined, print that. Otherwise, if it is not defined, then don't print price. Print only ID and name. That means if price is defined, then print ID, name and price. If not, define this. In JavaScript, this is the logic for verifying whether it is defined or not. That is the logic to configure whether it is defined or not. We can test like this also. If price is equal to undefined, or you can simply write price means if it is defined, it will print. If it is not defined, it will not print. For example, you can see now when I run this, so node TSC and node program.ts. So, and you can see it is printing ID and name because price is not mentioned. Suppose later if I supply price, then it is going to print that price. I will compile and run. This time it is going to print the price. That is how we handle optional parameters. And remember, it is printing the price here. After price, we given one more rating. Rating is an object. And you see it shows error. Why it shows error? Because rating, you see a required parameter cannot follow optional parameter. That means you cannot have a required parameter after optional parameter. Optional parameter must be last. If you have a required parameter, it will not work. This is also optional, no problem. That is also optional, no problem. But you cannot have a required parameter after optional parameter. This is one important thing you should know about parameters. So you cannot have a required parameter after optional parameter. Always optional parameter must be last. This is a simple example for that. So you can have optional parameters. Actually, optional parameters defined with question mark. Question mark is called null reference character. It is called as null reference character. Question mark is a null reference character. We can do that. So this is what you need to know about functions. So function related all concepts are same. Only one extra, data types. How you refine the data type, how you mention the return type. Parameter data types, return type. How you can have optional parameters and how you can have required parameters. These are the two things. Rest of all JavaScript concepts are same. There is no change, right? So that is the new thing you need to learn about functions here. Right? So variables, data types, and functions. Operators, statements, I already told you. Operators, and the statements all are same. No change. Operator means additional, arithmetic, relational, means arithmetic, comparison, assignment, all these operators are same. Statements, selection, iteration, looping, jump statements, exception handling, all are same, no change. That means all JavaScript statements and all operators are same, along with the functions also same. In functions, extra you have these points to remember, right? That is important about the function. So that is the important about the function. Okay, let's see how we can handle, how we can manage and handle, right? This you will see in the logics how it works, but this is the basic example you need to know. That is about functions in TypeScript. How to write arrow functions? Same. If you want to write arrow functions, you can write like this. That means, so var or let some addition, and it should have a return type as what number. And when you define return type as number, so here it can have a function, not function, just you put a parenthesis in this A, what type, number type, and B is also what type, number type, and it should return A plus B. That's how we rate the option. So that is actually how you configure. That means that is the option. And you can see it is showing some type number is not assignable to number. So did you mean to call the expression? Of course, we have to call an expression. Actually, this expression is not returning any number. Means here we haven't mentioned any return type. Actually, what is the return type? It is defined here, number. No need to tell that because you are initializing now. Already I told you type inference. Type inference means it initializes the value. So now I am not defining here any data type. Now it is okay. Why it is okay? Because this is going to return always a number only, final. Because you are initializing an expression. When you are initializing, the return type will be used as data type. You are configuring the return type as data type. This is how we write the arrows. Of course, I will show you how to write arrow in a fetch methods and all we will see in our project how to write that. But you will see in JSX, TSX syntax also, it will not change. Arrows are same, other function concepts are same, right? So only extra is about data types. That's only the thing you need to know. And if anyone asks like how to declare array in a function, same, we have function. Suppose we are printing products or categories. This categories is expecting list. This list is a string type array. Like this, you can configure. And what is here? Void is the return type configured. That means now list is expected as what type? String. That means we need, it is a string array. That means whenever you call categories into that, you have to pass a string array. That means an array of string. You need to pass an array of string because you declared as an array. You can have other parameters, object parameters. You can have number string parameters. These are same in your JavaScript also, but in JavaScript, you don't mention data type. Here you have to mention data type. Suppose I want another rating as an object, then object. This will have rate, which is what type? Number. It have count. This is also number type. Then here we need to define an object. This object contains rate, how much? Some 3.2. And it will contain count, how much? Some value. This is how we define complex types. If it is a number type, simply data type is number. If it is a string type, simply data type is string. But if it is an array type, then you have to use meta character. If it is an object type, you have to use an curly brace. If it is an array of objects, last session I showed you, object and square brace, array of objects. That is the way of declaring actually. Printing, you know how to print them, right? So we are using some list dot map. We are reading every item from that. and we are printing that item. I'm just using an arrow function here. I'm printing that item console.log. What is it? Item. I want to print the rating console.log. We are printing here rating, how much we have to use rating dot rate, and we have to use rating dot count. Like this we are defining. So this is going to print the details and display the details. You can see that is the program, and you run this. It is going to execute and display that result here. That means it is just printing the values of A and B, and it is printing the rating what it is. So function parameters, you can have complex types. You can have complex types. It can be array, it can be object. And already I told you it can be REST parameter. You know, REST parameter spread syntaxes in JavaScript, same concept here. So what is new about functions in TypeScript is data type. So function return type and parameter type. These are the new things. Rest of all concepts are same. Now next important about, so TypeScript OOP means object oriented programming. I already explained JavaScript OOP to you. Few basic things I explained. Same thing here, but some changes. What are the changes is, actually in OOP, we have first important one to understand class. And you know that I given already definition about classes and all. I taken a separate session on working with classes, class members and all. Here in TypeScript, what is difference? TypeScript is actually TypeScript class is same as JavaScript class. TypeScript class is same as JavaScript class. So it's same. TypeScript class is the same as JavaScript class, but some changes are there. What are the changes is actually, so class TypeScript class support so static and non-static members. Non-static. TypeScript supports static and non-static members. We can have static and non-static members, which are not directly allowed in JavaScript. JavaScript cannot use static and non-static directly. So, but in TypeScript, we can use static, non-static directly. What is difference? Means we can have static member and we have non-static members. What is difference between static and non-static? Actually, the difference between static and non-static is, static refers to continuous memory. It refers to continuous memory. And non-static refers to discrete memory, disconnected memory. Static is continuous, non-static is disconnected. That means, see, I will show one example here. Generally, the word static and non-static, they refer to, these two words refer to, static and non-static refers to, actually they refer to the concept of, one is, what is that? They refer to memory. Generally, we have two types of memory. Generally, we have two types of memory. What are the two types of memory is, we have static memory and we have non-static memory. Non-static, or we call as dynamic memory. We have two types of memories, static and non-static. What is difference is static is continuous memory. Continuous memory means the memory allocated for one object, it will continue for next. The memory allocated for one object will continue for next object. For example, see here, suppose we have a class. In this class, we are defining, in this class, we are defining a simple static S0. Static members are declared with static keyword. Non-static are defined with direct. Without any keyword, if you declare, it is a non-static. If you declare using the static keyword, then it is an static. So what happens is this static and non-static members are in the class. For class, memory is allocated. It will use these two memory, static and non-static. In static memory, it will keep S, and in non-static memory, it will keep N. Now what happened in static memory, we are defining S equal to S plus 1. In non-static also, N equal to N plus 1, we are incrementing. Now what happened is we created an object obj1. We created an object for this class. When you create an object for this class, it will now start using the static memory and it will use the non-static memory. Now what happens is for object 1, S will be 0 plus 1, it will be 1. And N will be 0 plus 1, it will be 1. After first object finished using, this N value will again reset to 0. After first object finished using, it will reset to 0. But S value will continue. S value will continue. It will not reset. That means now you created another object. Now you created another object, that is object 2. Then object 2 goes to memory and it will find that S is already 1 plus 1, it is 2. And it will find that N is 0 plus 1, that means it is 1. That means the memory allocated for static is continuing. For next object, it will continue. That means the memory allocated for first object will continue for next. That is why if anybody asks in interviews, what is difference between static, non-static? Do you know generally how people answer? At college and school level, when they learn OOP concepts and all, they learn like static members are accessed by class name. Non-static members are accessed by using an object. The question is not how they are accessed. The question is what they are. But majority people give this definition, like class name, static members are accessed. But that is not the concept of static and non-static. It is about how memory is used. I will give a real-time example. A real-time example for this is, for example, first thing, suppose we are having some insert, update, and delete like actions. We have three objects, one insert, another update, and delete. They have to perform operation on database. But remember, before inserting, updating, deleting, they have to connect. They have to connect. Now, I have given the connection. I have given the connection as static. If I given a static connection, what will happen? If I give a static connection, first insert object, when you run insert object, it will connect, it will open the connection and it will insert into the database. After that, the connection is still open. The connection is not closed. The connection is still open. Then what happens? Second object can use it. Then third object can use it. That means all objects need not to open connection. Once the connection is opened by first object, all others can use, because the connection is what type? Static. What is good? The good is you can do continuous operations without break. What is bad? If I am not inserting, deleting, updating, or doing any another work, connection is still opened in memory. If connection is still opened in memory and you are not inserting or updating or deleting, then it is memory, heavy on memory. Another point is it is heavy on memory. Another point is it is not safe. For that is called static. If I make the connection dynamic, non-static, then what happens? If I make it dynamic, what will happen is, if I make it dynamic connection now, if I make it dynamic, what happens? You click insert, it connected, it performed insert. After that, it is disconnected. After every transaction, it is end. You again click on update. Then what happens? Again, it will connect. After that, it will update. After update, it will disconnect. Every time it opens the connection. Just the best example, you are using email. In email, you will log in for first mail, and all mails you can watch. You don't need to log in for every mail. You will log in only for first, and you can watch all other mails continuous until you sign out. But you see, suppose you are doing some bank transaction. You sent some amount to a person. It will ask, verify your password. After your transaction finished, that memory is disconnected, erased. To the same person, immediately you want to send some more money. It will ask again transaction password. Why it cannot use continuous memory? Because it is not safe. It has to use which kind of memory? Discrete. Discrete means disconnected. So static is continuous memory and non-static is discrete memory. And this can happen in TypeScript class. In TypeScript class, you can declare static members and you can declare non-static members. That is one additional point you should know. So I will show that. Actually, static means it refers to continuous memory. It refers to continuous memory. That means here memory allocated for first object will continue to next. So it uses more memory, and it is not safe. These are the few things you need to know. Another important is static members are accessed within or outside class by using class name. They are accessed within the class or outside the class by using what? Class name. They are accessed within or outside class by using the class name. That is static. That is generally static. So what about dynamic? Dynamic, or you can say non-static. Actually non-static, it refers to discrete memory. Discrete memory, that means actually it is disconnected memory. Disconnected connected memory, it is disconnected memory. That means memory allocated for first object, for one object, will reset for next object, that's what actually it happens. The memory allocated for one object will reset for next object. So it is disconnected memory. So it is saving the memory. It is little safe, but actually problem is generally static is good for, it is good for continuous operations. Continuous operations. Where we need continuous operations, it is good. So it is good for discrete operations. Operations means disconnected access. That is important. And you know how they are accessed. So non-static members are accessed within class using this keyword. You know, this keyword is used, this keyword, and outside class by using, within class they are accessed with this keyword, and outside class by using instance of class. Instance of class is nothing but object. Outside the class, how to access? We can access by using object of class. Inside the class, how we access? By using this. That is actually non-static member. Let's see one example. And here very important point is, so here all other class members are same. What are the class members? We have constructor, and we have accessor, we have property, and we have method. You know them, right? All these are same. Constructors, accessors, all are same, no change. So generally what JavaScript class is having, the same is defined here also. So JavaScript classes and TypeScript classes are similar. Only one extra thing is, in JavaScript classes, you don't have directly static members, which you can configure in TypeScript. One more difference is there, I will show you. First, I will explain this difference. See, let's write one program here, class demo. Demo is the class. In this class, we have static S0 and N is 0. This is non-static. We are having a constructor. In the constructor, we are defining. In the constructor, we are configuring what it is, what we are mentioning. So demo.static, demo.s is equal to demo.s plus 1. And this dot n is equal to this dot n plus 1. Because inside the class, static members are accessed by using, class name. Non-static members are accessed by using this keyword. And we are having a print method. This print method is a void method, just like you learned functions, same. And this print method is printing console.log s is equal to the value of s, that means demo.s. N is equal to this dot n. We are printing s and n value. Let's create some objects for this class. Let obj1 is equal to new demo. Through obj1, we will print the value of s and n we are printing. Okay. I will create another object obj2. Two different objects for same class. Through obj2, we are printing. I will create another object for the same class. Now obj3 dot print. We are creating three objects different for same class. Let's see how they use the memory. I am compiling and running this. And when I am compiling and running this, you can see S value is 1, 2, 3 and N value is 1. That means static is continuing. Remember three different objects, obj1, obj2, obj3. But the memory allocated for first object is continuing for second. If it is which memory? Static. And if it is a non-static, then it is resetting every time. That means for every object, n is 1. Why? Because every time the memory resets. But s is not 1 because it is continuous. When you are designing continuous operations, then use static members. When you are designing discrete operations, then use non-static. That is the difference between static and non-static. This is one additional thing you need to know. Observe carefully. When I go to program.js, you see here there is no keyword like static. It translated into JavaScript, but there is no keyword like static. Then how it manages static? For that, it implements different techniques by using a mechanism called prototype. You can see it is using prototyping technique. It uses a complete different technique to configure the classes, define the static members and use them. Directly, if static keyword is there, then you don't need to do all these things. So automatically it is going to handle all these. This is how it is translating into JavaScript. We don't need to worry about that. That internally how it translates, we don't need. But TypeScript, we have a simple mechanism. We can create a static member and a non-static. So in TypeScript classes, you will find this concept extra. That means this is an example for that. I will give this example here. That's the example. So all other members are same. That means constructor, accessor and all. One more extra is there. What is that extra is TypeScript members. TypeScript members are defined using access modifiers. These are also not there in JavaScript. We have three access modifiers like public, like private, and we have protected. This is one extra important thing you need to learn. This is not there in JavaScript because JavaScript is not a OOP language. But usually every OOP language have code level security. That code level security is defined by using these access modifiers. Public, private, and protected. What is difference? That means a property can be public, private, protected. A method can be public, private, protected. We can define this for properties or for methods. Actually, we can define this for a constructor also, but in TypeScript, constructor cannot be public, private, or protected. Generally, in other OOP languages, it can have. That means in other OOP languages, you can even have a static constructor. But here in TypeScript, constructor will not allow public, private, or protected. So, and very important, it is not going to allow the concept of constructor with class name, constructor with return types and all, right? Usually these three access modifiers you can define for a property or a method. What is difference between these three? I hope you can easily understand these points. Actually, what is public? Public is nothing but, the point about public is it configures accessibility from any location. It configures accessibility from any location. It defines accessibility from any location. That means, so you can access within the class, that is important. You can access outside class. So you can access from a derived class, These are all things we can do. We can access within the class, we can access outside the class, we can access from a derived class. These are all the things which a public can do. What private can do? Private means it configures accessibility only within class. You cannot access anywhere. That means it restricts the accessibility only within the class. You cannot access outside the class. Outside the class, you cannot access. That is what actually private. So it is restricted to use only within the class. You have another one, protected. We have protected. Protected is nothing but it configures accessibility. It configures protected level accessibility. What is that means? I will explain. Protected level accessibility means you can access within class. That's okay. You can access from a derived class only by using derived reference or derived object. This is highly restricted. I will explain that. I will show you. You can access from derived class only by using derived reference or derived object. That is what actually difference between public, private, and protected. So public, private, protected, these are the access modifiers. For example, you see now here. So what are the access modifiers? Access modifiers is nothing but, let's say I will create a class product. In this product class, we have public name. It is a string type. And it is initially some name. Like this we are having. That is how we declare properties. Same like JavaScript, but extra is what? Data type. So we have private, some price. This is number type. And we store some number. Like this we are defining. We are configuring. We have another protected. Some stock is a Boolean type. And it is having true or false. These are the members. So now class is having three members. One is public, another one private, another one protected. Now how to create a derived class? That means we will create a class derived. This derived class extends which class? Product. Actually the product is a base class. Suppose I will create base word. so that you can easily understand. So we have a base class. So we have a base class and we have a derived. Now see what I am doing. I am creating an object for base class. Obj is equal to new base. I'm creating an object for base class. Now tell me through this object, which member I can access? By using that object, which member I can access? There are three members. Object belongs to base class, na? Object belongs to base class. So by using this object, which member I can access? You can, so you can access only name. You can access only name. You cannot access anything else. You see, obj dot name, only name is available. Others we cannot access. That means you can access only name. Okay, for example, suppose this is obj1, let obj2 is equal new derived. We are creating an object for derived class. What we can access? Suppose this derived class is having a public print method. It is an void type print method. Now, what are the members it can access? What obj2 can access? obj2 can access because public, and it can access print. Remember, it cannot access protected. It cannot access protected. You see now, obj2, we can access only name and print. Name and print. You can access only name and print. That means you can access name and print. These only accessible. Then how to access protected? Private, no chance. Private is accessible only within that class. It is not accessible outside. Now where and how the protected is accessible? Where and how the protected is accessible means talk. For example, here important, observe. What is the definition? You can access from derived class only using derived class reference. That means you see this is in derived. In derived class, in the print method, I am creating a reference which is of type derived class. Reference of derived class. Then through this reference, you can access the protected stock. You can access name, you can access print, and you can access stock. That means what is the limitation of protected member? It is accessible within that class, or it is accessible only outside the class, only in derived class using derived reference. Suppose in derived class, suppose this reference is base reference. Understood? If it is a base reference, then you cannot access protected member. It should be which reference? It should be reference. Which reference? Derived. Then only you can access that. There can be derived reference, or you can also use derived class object. That means let obj is equal to new derived. You create a derived class object. Through that, you can access stock. Either derived class reference, derived class object. Remember, you cannot access through derived class object outside. You see here we are trying to access outside now. obj2 is which class object? derived class object only. But this obj2 cannot access stock. It cannot access stock because stock is a protected member. Protected member means it is accessible inside derived class only by using derived class inside derived class only by derived class reference you can access. You cannot access in any another place. That is very highly restricted, protected. You can access from derived class. So only by using derived reference or derived object. That is the accessibility of protected. So this is very important thing to understand. So whenever this is just a rough example to understand the concept. That means what this can do now, you can access name, you can access stock, and you can access print. Then how to access the private member? Private member is never accessed outside. The private member is accessed only inside. That means inside that class, if you have a function, you can access there, but outside you cannot, right? This is the difference between your JavaScript class and TypeScript class. Members are same. Constructor, properties, methods are same. Only the difference, properties have data type. Members, methods also have a data type to define. And here static members are extra, and another one, access modifiers are extra. You can have access modifiers. This is access modifier. That is one extra thing you need to know about the classes. Because you can create a class component, then you should know all these rules now. That means now you will not write any method directly. You will write public method, return type as void, handle click is a void method, and you have to access. That's how generally we configure the methods, right? So what you saw new concept about classes here. About classes, the new concept is static, non-static members, access modifiers, and data type for properties and methods. Whenever you define properties and methods, you have to configure the data type, which already I given in this example. In this example, we defined the data type, name, string, and all these options here. Now, another important, what is new about classes is actually class inheritance is same. So polymorphism also same. Polymorphism is same. Like JavaScript, you have inheritance and polymorphism. But here, one extra concept is there. What is that extra concept? So same as JavaScript. Same as JavaScript. So polymorphism, inheritance, they are same as JavaScript. But one extra concept is there. That extra concept is contracts. The extra concept is contracts. In object-oriented programming, in every object-oriented programming, we have contracts. Contracts are compulsory. Generally, what is a contract? That means how a class is designed. So that means generally class is designed by following certain rules. For example, I showed you one concept, I think you know. Suppose you are designing database. You are designing database. So your job in company is to design database. Now the question is, what is the reference given to you for designing database? What is the reference given to you to design database? By seeing which reference you design database. What is the reference for creating database? Simply you will create imaginary. You will not create any imaginary. There are certain rules. As per the rules, you have to design. I hope you people know to design database, we create conceptual model. Conceptual models. We create physical model. We create logical model. And we create entity model. To create a database, we need these models: conceptual, physical, logical, entity. Conceptual model means it defines what are the modules that need data in a project. What are the modules that need data? That is defined through conceptual model. That means every module in project doesn't need data. That need data. So what are the modules that need data? That is actually decided by, so second. So okay. So what modules that need data? We will prepare a list of them. That is called conceptual module. After we prepare conceptual module, we design a physical model. Physical model is nothing but for every module, what are the fields we need? What should be table name? What should be the field name? What should be the data type? These all we decide in physical model. After physical model is ready, we design logical model. In logical model, we mention, are there any relationships required? We configure the relationship, primary key, foreign key relations we configure. After that, we prepare entity model. Entity model means table name, field name, data type, relationship, everything is present in entity. So database is designed by using the reference of what? Entity model. By seeing an entity model, people also call it as ER diagram, entity relationship diagram. By using that, they prepare the database. So what is this ER diagram? What is this ER diagram? It is a contract for designing database. That means, can a developer design anything simply like that? No, he have to follow certain rules. And who provides the rules? The contract provides the rules. For example, I will show here. Usually, we will have database models like this. You can see usually database models look like this. These are different database models related to some projects. You can see these are the database models. A conceptual model looks like this. In conceptual model, we mention what are the modules that need data. After designing conceptual model, our team will prepare, they will prepare physical model. In physical model, we mention data type, table name, field name, data types, everything. Once the physical model is ready, it is reviewed by our team. If the physical model is ready, then what we do, we prepare a logical model. In the logical model, we have table name, field name, field name, and relationship. After this is finalized by our team, then we will prepare an entity model. The entity model contains table name, field name, relationship, and everything. This is called ER diagram. That means this is the contract for designing database. This is the contract for designing database. That means according to this, we have to design. We cannot miss any one of these, and we cannot add any extra other than this. We have to create exactly this. So a project design always have to follow certain contracts. When you design classes, the classes also are created by using contracts. Not only classes, I will tell you here. For example, previously you saw one concept. Suppose I created product. Product is an object. Product is an object. In this product object, I am having name, some TV. I am having price, some string. Currently it is taking. Why? Because are there any rules for this? Are there any rules defined here? There are no rules. Previous session, I told you how to define rules. How do we define rules? Beside the product, what we do? Here we define colon, and here we define the rules. But in real world scenarios, all rules are kept in a separate place. Do you know? We call them as contracts, and those contracts are called interfaces. If anybody asks what is an interface in OOP language, what is your answer? How you answer about interface? If anyone asks what is the purpose of an interface in OOP language, then what is your answer? I don't know previously how you are answering, but in reality, interfaces are used for designing contracts. And contracts can contain only rules. Only rules. According to these rules, we design the components. That means interface in object-oriented programming is used for designing contracts. So the technical word of interface is contract. So contracts are nothing but interface. We define interface name. Suppose I product is an interface name. In this interface, it should contain only rules. Rules means what are the members you are expecting in product. I am expecting name. What is its data type? Data type is string. Next, I am expecting price. What is its data type? Data type is number. Next, I am expecting here. What else? Price means as per the rules, price must be number. What we are expecting? Stock. Stock must be what type? Boolean type. And not only that, I am also expecting rating. I am also expecting rating as number type. As of now, I just defined number. Now the question here is, this contract must be used by this object. How the object uses this contract? Just we have to put a colon and the contract name, I product. Now it is correct. Previously, I showed you directly we write there that product needs ID, name, price. How you will reuse that rule? So interface defines the rules which you can use for different objects. That means what is the role of interface? The main role of interface is to design contracts. Now see, according to the contract, the product need to be designed, and see it is showing errors. Errors is nothing but it is saying that as per the contract, price is what type? Number. You cannot assign a string. So I will enter some price. Okay, as per the contract, stock is a boolean. That means it should be true. And why it is still showing error? Why it is still showing error? Because as per the contract, there must be rating. That means you cannot ignore anything from the contract. what is there in the contract, we have to mention. So that means according to contract, what is missing? Product says that rating is missing. That means you have to mention rating. That means here I defined rating as some 4.2. I added one more option like city as Delhi, then immediately it shows error. It says that in contract there is no city, and how you are using, you cannot have a city because it is not there in the contract. It doesn't exist in the contract. Developers cannot write anything just like that. They have to follow rules, and all the rules for developers are designed through interfaces. We design interfaces and we give to developers. Developers will use those interfaces and in implementing the components. So only one important point about interface, it is used for designing contracts. And remember, interface can contain only rules. That means in a name, I am trying to add some TV, you cannot, because interface cannot implement. Interface can have only rules. Only rules can be there. You cannot implement any functionality. So, and one more point, suppose I'm not mentioning rating, then it is showing error. How you make it as optional? How you make it as optional? We make it as an optional by using question mark. Same thing. Same like object related things you have defined. That means in a contract, there can be optional rules. Now, generally, at very experienced level interviews, they ask this question. You are saying interface is a contract. Then how a contract can have optional things? A contract means everything according to contract must be designed. And how a contract can have optional rules? This is very extreme question actually. If anybody asks like that, that means he is testing more than 10 years experienced person. If this question comes, that means if I have to test more than 10 15 years experienced software developer on oops these type of questions I will ask. That means now explain why you need a optional contract, optional rule in a contract, because contract is mandatory to implement. Why a contract can have optional rules? A contract is mandatory, then why it can have optional rules? That is because in real world projects, every module, every module have an objective, and every module have a goal. Usually when we design every module in a project, every module have an objective and a goal. Entire project have an objective and goal. Every module have an objective and goal. What is difference between objective and goal? What is difference between an objective and goal? The difference between objective and goal is, objective is mandatory to achieve. Objective is mandatory to achieve. It is compulsory that you have to achieve the objective. And it is time bound. You should achieve within this specific time. It is time bound and you should achieve. Goal is optional. That means you may or may not. If you achieve, that's good. If not, it's okay. We don't care. For example, the point is, suppose we are having some app like some red bus. In this red bus app, so we have availability of bus between stations and ticket reservation. That means ticket ticket reservation, and we have live tracking of bus. Now tell me, in that, which can be optional? If it is not working also, fine, it's okay, no problem. Availability of bus can be optional? No, that is the primary thing. If I cannot see the availability of bus, then what is use of this app? That is mandatory, it should work. Ticket reservation can be optional? No, it is mandatory. That is why we are using this app. The main concept is reserving a ticket. Live tracking can be optional. Some bus may not have a GPS system, right? And if live tracking is not working, it's okay. We have alternate methods to indicate. If live tracking is working, very good. If not working, it's fine. It doesn't matter for us. That means this is not an objective for project. This is an goal. If it achieves that goal at certain instance, it's very, very good. If not, it's okay. We have alternative things for that. This is how project design happens. That is the reason this rating can be an optional, because it is a goal. It is a goal. Why it is a goal? If anybody haven't purchased, how he will give ratings? A product is never purchased by anybody. You see in Amazon, there are so many products which are unrated. You don't have a rating for them. When they give the rating, anybody purchased it and they give a rating, then you will see the rating. Otherwise, some products we don't have any rating. That means, is it mandatory that every product have a rating? No, it can be optional. If we have a rating, it is good for users so that he can understand how much level of quality it is provided. These are project related basic things. Because when anybody tries to fake his experience, we test this much in-depth levels to understand whether he knows his project or not. That means he simply says that I worked on 2-3 projects. Seriously, then you should have an answer for this. Why? Because without knowing the goal and objective of any project, how you work for a project? That means you should know what are goals, what are objectives, how they are configured and designed in an application level. Because majority of our developers are not in architect level, they are in just development level. If you are in architect level, you will understand. Why? Because architect level means people who are responsible for building library. You are not the person who is building library, you are the person who is using the library and building application. If a person involved in building a library, he knows all this, right? Because the person who is involved in designing library, that means React is a library. You are building a library? No, you are using a library. The person who built that library, he knows all these points. Means he knows what is a contract, what is the purpose of an interface, why and where it is used. This is not only for object. This is one point. That means what it is. Contracts are nothing but a contract defines rules for designing a component, rules for designing a component. And in object oriented programming, contracts are designed by using interface, So actually interface contains rules for defining a component. It contains rules for defining a component. And here, so this is the syntax we have. That means you have to define interface and interface name, and we have to define the set of rules here. We need to configure the set of rules. These interfaces are not there in JavaScript. So you can find this in TypeScript. And this is a simple example how I created an interface and used it. That means how to create an interface and how to access and how do we use that, right? Now, if here object is using that interface, suppose I am designing a class. This class name is product. this class must be designed as per this interface. This class must be designed as per interface. Then class will implement, it implements interface. That means a class will implement interface. When it is implementing an interface, that means it should be designed as per the rules. That means this class cannot have its own members now. Class can have only the members as per the contract. That means you see it says that as per the contract, it is not correctly implementing. What are the implementation rules? It is missing name, price, and stock, because rating we mentioned as optional. Then how do we define public? Name is what type, string type, and it is equal to some value, empty thing I define. Similarly, another price is what type, number type, and it is having some value, some zero I define. Similarly, public, we have stock, and it is Boolean type, and it is having some true or false. Like this we define. This is the contract. And remember, the class is implementing this contract. It is implementing the contract. That means it should be designed according to the contract. According to contract. And remember, the contract can have rules for not only for properties, it can have rules for methods also. A contract can have rules for methods also. That means here I am writing a total method. This total method should return a number. It should return a number. That means now, as per the rules, there must be a total method. And I will do one thing. So instead of rating, here I will give quantity. Quantity as a number. Now, according to that, you need another quantity. It is a number type and zero. And according to the rule, you should have a total method. And as per the rule, it should return number. And it should return number. This dot quantity into what? This dot price. You can define rules for properties and you can define rules for methods. Suppose as per the rule, we need a print method and it should be a void method. And according to the rules, it is not having print method. If you want method as optional, you can put a question mark here. Method also can be optional. Then I am using here public print method. It is a void method. And it can print all the details. Console.log, and it is printing like name. So it is this dot name. In the next line, we have price. So we have this dot price. In the next line, we have quantity. So this dot quantity. So in the next line, we have total is equal to this dot total. Total is a method. So these are all the details we are configuring inside the print method. Now, how do we access? We have to just access. We have to create an object. Obj is equal to new product. And through obj, I can access name. I define some name. I can access the price. I define some price. I can access the quantity, some quantity, and I'll print the details. Total will be calculated implicitly. It will internally calculate the total and print the details. And you can see I'm running this program, and this is another one, and it is going to print those details. This is how actually a class is configured. A class can implement the contract, and according to the contract, it can design. And one specialty is a class can implement multiple contracts. For example, I am having another contract interface I category, that is contract name. In this, we can have a category name, and which should be string type. and it can implement multiple contracts. We have I category, it can implement. According to that, category must be implemented. That means here we have to mention public, what it is, category name, string type, it is initially empty. And we want to print the category details here, /n category is equal to whatever this dot category name. That means now you are printing those details also. Obj dot category name is electronics. Like this we are configuring. That means we can implement multiple. Now I told you one point, if you remembered, multiple inheritance is supported for interfaces. It is not supported. Interface have constructor construct, right? You construct a mechanism, and you see now one configuration defined, and it's going to run that. In TypeScript, one more extra thing you should know